How to know she is lying. Have you ever felt that she isn't telling you the truth, but couldn't quite put your finger on it? That uneasy feeling in your gut, that subtle sense that something is off? It's more than just intuition. It's a skill you can learn. Today, we're going to explore the art of spotting lies, the subtle cues she gives, and the science behind why we often believe them. And I promise, by the end of this video, you'll be able to notice signs that most people completely miss. Now, let me ask you something. Imagine you're sitting across from her. Maybe she's your friend, a colleague, or even your partner, and something she's saying doesn't sit right with you. Maybe she insists she's telling the truth, but your gut tells you otherwise. How do you know for sure? Do you confront her? Do you ignore it? Or do you learn the hidden language of deception? Lying isn't just about words. It's about the story her body and mind tell while her mouth speaks something else entirely. And the fascinating part is, the human brain is wired to leak truth in ways most people never notice. So let's break it down. I'm going to guide you through 5 powerful ways to detect when she's lying, with real-life examples, storytelling, and the few psychological tricks that professionals, detectives, negotiators, even teachers use every day. And I'm going to talk to you directly, because this is a skill you can start applying immediately. 1. Watch her eyes, but don't believe the myths. First, let's talk about the eyes. You've probably heard the myth, if she avoids eye contact, she's lying. Well, it's not that simple. In fact, liars sometimes stare too much to convince you they're telling the truth. It's called overcompensation. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine, let's call her Daniela, once told me she had never touched a certain work project. I had a strong feeling she was lying. What gave her away wasn't that she avoided my gaze, it was the tiny flickers in her eyes. She would glance down for just a second, then back at me, almost as if her brain was fighting with her mouth. Those micro-movements, those brief inconsistencies in eye behavior, are often more telling than staring or looking away. Here's what you should look for. Rapid blinking. A sudden increase in blinking can indicate stress or cognitive load. Pupil dilation. When she's lying, her pupils may dilate slightly due to increased mental effort or emotional arousal. Eye direction. Some people glance in certain directions when fabricating details, although this isn't universal, so combine it with other cues. The takeaway? Don't rely on a single eye movement. Look for patterns. Lies often hide in repetition or the lack of it. 2. Listen to her words and the gaps between them. Next, pay attention to her speech patterns. Liars often overcompensate with details or avoid specifics. A story that's too polished, too rehearsed can be just as suspicious as one that's missing pieces. Here's an example. Imagine a colleague tells you she couldn't finish a report because everything went wrong. At first, it sounds believable. But then when you ask for specifics, like which part went wrong, she stumbles, repeats phrases, or uses vague language like stuff or things. That hesitation, that's your clue. Other verbal signs to watch for. Excessive qualifiers. Honestly, to be fair, I swear, liars often try to convince themselves as much as you. Contradictions. Listen for statements that contradict earlier ones. It's subtle, but your brain can catch these before your conscious mind. Delayed responses. Pausing too long to answer a simple question can indicate she's constructing the lie in real time. Remember, her words matter, but the way she uses them often reveals even more. 3. Her body language tells the story your ears can't hear. Now let's move to the body. Our bodies are incredibly honest, even when our words are not. Think about it. Lying creates stress. Her muscles tense, her posture shifts, and tiny gestures leak the truth. For example, there's a classic story from a negotiation training I attended. A negotiator named Sarah could tell when a client was lying just by subtle hand movements, like touching her face, rubbing her neck, or covering her mouth. These aren't guarantees, but they're red flags. Here's what you should look for in body language. Fidgeting or self-soothing gestures. Playing with a pen, tugging at clothing, or touching her face can indicate nervousness. Inconsistent gestures. If she says, "I didn't do it," but nods or gestures in a way that contradicts her words, pay attention. Micro expressions. These are tiny, fleeting facial expressions, sometimes only a fraction of a second, that reveal true emotions like fear, anger, or guilt. They're very quick, but telling. Here's a little secret. You don't need to master every micro expression to detect lies. Focus on clusters of behaviors. If multiple signs appear together, hesitation, fidgeting, and incongruent words, the likelihood of deception rises. 4. Trust your gut, but verify with evidence. Have you ever had that gut feeling that she isn't being honest? That intuitive hit is more than superstition. It's your brain processing subtle cues subconsciously. But intuition alone isn't enough. You need to verify. Let me tell you a story. I once had a client who insisted everything was fine with a project. Something felt off. My gut said something isn't right. I asked a few targeted questions and compared her responses with documented facts. Sure enough, discrepancies appeared. My intuition gave me the signal, but evidence gave me the proof. When using gut feelings, observe first. Let your intuition guide you to focus on specific cues. Ask clarifying questions. A lie often unravels when she's asked to explain details repeatedly. Check against facts. Always cross-reference what you observe with concrete evidence when possible. Intuition is your radar. Evidence is your confirmation. Together, they make a formidable team. 5. Watch for emotional mismatch. Lastly, pay attention to emotional consistency. She may try to fake emotions, but it's rarely perfect. The emotion she expresses should match the context of her story. Imagine she tells you she's devastated about a missed opportunity, but her face is flat or she smiles at the wrong moments. That mismatch between what she says and what she shows is a major clue. Other emotional cues include timing. Genuine reactions happen naturally and quickly. Delayed emotions can signal fabrication. Intensity. Overly dramatic or underwhelming reactions compared to the situation can be suspicious. Incongruence. Voice tone, facial expression, and body language all work together in truth-telling. When they're out of sync, something may be off. A famous example comes from criminal investigations. Detectives often look for the too perfect emotional response, someone overacting sadness or anger, trying to perform authenticity. Putting it all together. Here's the most important part. No single sign guarantees she's lying. She might fidget because she's nervous, pause because she's thinking, or avoid eye contact because she's shy. The power comes from clusters of behavior, repeated inconsistencies, and the combination of verbal, nonverbal, and emotional cues. Think of it like a puzzle. Each piece, a blink, a pause, a gesture, a word choice, is small on its own. But when you start to see the pattern, the truth begins to emerge. And here's a tip most people ignore. Practice makes perfect. Start observing people in everyday life, not to accuse them, but to notice natural patterns versus anomalies. Watch how your friends, coworkers, or partner behave when they're relaxed versus when they're stressed. Over time, spotting deception becomes much easier because you know what's normal for her. And a word of caution. Detecting lies is a skill, not a weapon. Misreading cues can lead to false accusations, mistrust, and conflict. Use this knowledge responsibly to protect yourself, make informed decisions, and understand human behavior better. Now, imagine this. You're in a critical situation, an important negotiation, a delicate conversation, or a personal relationship. Suddenly, you notice subtle cues. A delayed answer, a flicker of doubt in her eyes, a voice that cracks just slightly. If you've practiced these techniques, you don't just feel the lie, you can analyze it, understand it, and respond wisely. That is power. Conclusion and takeaway. So here's what you take from this. Observe her eyes carefully. Look for micro movements and patterns. Listen to her words and pauses. Overly detailed or inconsistent speech is a red flag. Watch her body language. Fidgeting, gestures, and micro expressions tell a story.
Trust your gut, but verify with evidence. Intuition is your radar, evidence is your confirmation. Check emotional consistency. Mismatched expressions reveal hidden truths. If you apply these techniques thoughtfully, you'll see through deception more clearly than most people ever will. And remember, the goal isn't to catch her in a lie maliciously. It's to understand human behavior, protect yourself, and communicate more effectively. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Have you ever caught her lying without her realizing it? Or maybe you missed a clue and later discovered the truth. Comment below. I love reading your stories and insights. And if you found these tips useful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who could use a little help seeing through the smoke. Because here's the truth. Understanding lies is about more than catching deception. It's about seeing the world and the people around you more clearly. And once you start noticing the signs,